Hello, friends. Welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado. I'm your host, Heidi Ganal, a wife, mom of four, CU Regent, and the founder of Camp Bow Wow and the She Factor. With a passion for keeping the spirit of our state alive and well, I started this podcast to bring the people of Colorado together to celebrate the amazing state we call home. Come along on this journey with me as I travel across our old country roads in my vintage RV, interviewing folks that embody the true spirit of the Rocky Mountains. From the Front Range to the mile-high city to the Wild West of Southern Colorado, we'll celebrate the history, beauty, and Coloradans that make this place the colorful state it is. Each week, you'll meet people trailblazing the way for an even more colorful future for us all, making a huge difference along the way. Are you ready for a Rocky Mountain ride? Let's do this, Colorado. Welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado. Today we are going to talk to Rachel, the founder of Battle Mom, who I met through She Factor. She is a badass, you guys. One of great people making a difference for our kids in Colorado. So Rachel, welcome to Heidi's Colorful Colorado.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. I want to talk a little bit about, you have an incredible background. You've done lots of different things, including opera singer, hedge fund manager, where do we start? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Iowa on a farm.
Did you?
Yep. About 8.5 hours east of here. Right. I'm like, where are we? Yeah.
And what was it like growing up on a farm? Did you have to get up early and help?
No, I will debunk that myth. On my farm, I was not required to get up early and, clean stalls, muck stalls, and, do any of the hard, heavy labor.
What did your family grow on the farm?
Corn, soybeans, and we had beef cattle.
And are they still there in Iowa?
The family farm still exists, nice. And they live there but don't farm. Someone else is farming it now. So.
Got it. So how did you end up in Colorado?
So that's a long story.
It's okay. We've got some time.
My dad was stationed at Fort Carson in the 60s, and my brother was actually born on base there. I was not. I was born in Iowa, but the connection there is every summer after planting season occurred, and there was a little bit of time, my dad would bring the whole family to Colorado because they loved it so much. We would go back to Colorado Springs and start, do all the things that they loved. And we'd go through the mountains and fishing and hiking and, staying in a cabin, much to my mother's dismay. I'm pretty sure. She was a good sport about it. She's not super outdoorsy. But, we came to Colorado and we would hang out and do fun stuff. Estes Park. I remember all these things. Pikes Peak. To my brother, don't run around when you get to the top of Pikes Peak. You're going to get... There it goes. You got sick. So grew up in Iowa, went to University of Illinois and got a degree in opera and moved to New York and then came back to Colorado after living in New York for 20 years.
Wait. I want to hear more about the opera stuff. How did you get interested in opera?
I had this voice. Growing up, actually, as my mother would say, I did not have a nice voice when I was little. Little kids don't always sing that well. She made me take piano, and that helped. I don't know, but it happened to be I was Mary in the church play, and I had a solo, and I sang my solo, and I remember seeing my dad lean out and look like, who is that? And I had this voice. It was different than everyone else's, and, started just loving it. And I looked at my mom one day, I think I was third grade or something, I'm going to be an opera singer. Nice. And she was like, really? Okay, you do that. And I did. I kept singing. I loved it. I had the voice that wasn't like anyone else's. I started winning competitions and got offered a scholarship. And there it was. I went to the University of Illinois and got a degree in music, sang, loved it, moved to New York, tried to have the full opera singer career, but it didn't work out for me. It wasn't in the cards for me, but I had some wonderful professional experiences. I did sing at Lincoln Center and I did commercials, and so when it was time for me to go, I was okay. I did what I wanted to do, and obviously with a voice, I still have it. It's a gift. It doesn't go anywhere. And I've learned to use it in different ways. So, the extensive breathing training that goes along with opera has really, become an integral part of my method of self-defense and keeping yourself calm in intense situations.
So Battle Mom is an incredible organization. You're changing lives for kids, for adults. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into self-defense, how you learned to use that voice for that?
So, interestingly enough, my ex-husband, he's a great guy, we're friends, got me into martial arts in New York when we were living there. And I sort of didn't want to do it. I'm like, no, that's your thing. You go do that. And so we did it together. And I just happened to join a wonderful family, a martial arts family, that allowed me to use my voice in these training sessions. So it's a hybrid system that integrates many different types of martial arts, highly skilled, very talented people. So I trained with this wonderful martial arts family in Westchester, New York, Balanced Martial Arts, yay! And they taught me things that I had no idea that I needed to know or wanted to know, how to use my body. I was athletic, but I became super coordinated in ways I had no clue. And I didn't also know that I would like punching people. And, as I approached my black belt, I realized or learned about myself that I was really good at defending myself. I'm less good at the art part of martial arts. And again, props to my martial arts family that they didn't push me in, you have to do this. This is the traditional, you have to, do these forms and things like that. And they really let me focus on what I was good at. And they allowed me to question all these techniques that were, in my opinion, created for men, not women, right? So every single thing I learned, I had to recreate to make it work for me. I'm only 5 feet tall. I'm wearing 4-inch platforms here. I'm only 5 feet tall.
Tiny but mighty, we call that.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, okay, so how am I going to make this work? And what can I really do? And that's not really practical. And why would I do that? And, there's this tiny woman like blah, 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 talking, asking questions. And they let me do that. And they helped me make it something within their structure, right, that worked for me. Because if it doesn't work for you, why would you do it? Why would you waste your time? I became super fit, super confident, more confident than I was before. I think I was born that way, but having the knowledge that you have an ability to do something that no one else knows how to do, I'm like a blade in a sheath, right? Like I have, it creates a confidence in yourself that just emanates from you, and people see that and are attracted to it, and I think it kept me safe. I've been in a lot of encounters. I've had a lot of verbal aggressions, physical aggressions, and I've been okay. So back to the training, as I approached my black belt, I had women saying to me, you're an inspiration. Do you teach? And I thought to myself, that is so strange. Why am I an inspiration? I'm like, well, no. Thank you. I will accept that because that feels really good. And no, I don't teach. And that sort of planted the seed in my head. And about the time we were getting ready to move to Colorado from New York, we decided that just not where we wanted to be anymore, not where we wanted to raise our kids. And we had been looking all over the country, and we wanted to be near mountains. And, I had this memory of Colorado, and, we looked Denver, Boulder, all over. And I just, when I saw Boulder for the first time, I was like, that's where I want to be right now. That's where I want my kids to be. So, my husband came, my ex-husband, now ex-husband, moved us partially to Colorado. I was still with the kids. And I had taken my 2nd-degree black belt test, and I had a broken rib.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So we really were put through the paces, right? So broken rib, 3 kids, Memorial Day weekend for, celebratory, fun times with the kids. And the kids saw a tank, and they were like, Mom, you should make your car, you should put a gun on the top of your car, as boys do. You should, I'm like, oh, make my Buick Enclave like a tank and go into battle. Yeah. And my very good friend said, like a battle mom. And I'm like, ding. There it is. I'm like, battle mom. I want to be battle mom. And I didn't know what I was going to do with it. But that night I went home, I bought it, bought the .com, the email address, all the things. And I'm like, I'm Battle Mom. And, when I came to Colorado, that's when Battle Mom really grew. And I had the opportunity and the right environment in a new martial arts family, Boulder Karate, a new martial arts family to help train me and bring me up to the level where I am now and feel confident enough that, I can be an inspiration to other women, right? It all it takes is support, right? Support and encouragement.
You are an inspiration to other women, Rachel. And I think one of the difficulties in society today is finding our voice and using our voice. And, not only are we not are afraid of physical attacks, but also verbal attacks right now and attacks on social media and getting canceled for saying something just not right.
Stop canceling things.
I know. It's like, this is America. We are supposed to use our voice and have feisty debate about different issues. What's your take on that? Like, how does what you do with Battle Mom relate to what's happening in society right now?
Right. I think it's really, it's relevant, right? And what I do plays a really big role in young girls' lives, and adult women's lives, really, and in my own life, right? And how you deal with that. I also, as we talked about, I worked at the largest hedge fund in the world, Bridgewater, and at Bridgewater I learned, is it true? So if somebody says something, you're having a healthy debate and you disagree, there's truth and there's not truth, right? And I say to my girls in my classes, they say to me, I had this experience, Rachel, is our words threats? I'm like, well, they can be. Did something happen to you? Yes. And then they tell me things that they don't tell their parents, which I am so grateful for and I appreciate. And what I say to them is, okay, is it true? Is it true?
You mean when they call them something?
Yeah, when they call you a name or they say something that's really negative, I'm like, is it true? Well, no. Okay, well, let's start there. So it's not true. It's not true. How does it make you feel? Okay, let's go from there. It's not true, but you don't feel good about it, right? Do you feel comfortable saying something? No. Okay, now we can go somewhere from there.
Tell me about the programs you're running right now and how you're dealing with the shift in society.
Yeah, I learn things every day, which is interesting. You have to be very fluid and flexible and open-minded. I'll just start with that. And I never say no to anyone or anything, any opportunity that comes up. But right now I have ongoing women's classes in Boulder, not yet Denver, but Arvada in Boulder and some in Niwot, and I do lots of private sessions. So I primarily teach the 12 and up age group, and until you die, you can benefit from this class. So, until you're no longer on this earth, able to take a class, you can benefit from this class. There is something for everybody because, that's the beauty of self-defense. It's not about learning a technique. It's about learning who you are and how you can be the best you, be the most effective you, right? And that's physically, mentally, emotionally, for yourself, for your kids, for your family, for everything, for the world around you. I'm now just adding a young girls leadership course that is going to start in Boulder, the first of its kind, because it was expressed to me there was a need for an all-girls class. There's a population of people who don't want to take martial arts, and that's okay. But they kind of want to take martial arts. They want self-defense, but they want the leadership, right? So I was like, well, let's do that. Because what I'm doing is a lot, it's less about, it's derived in martial arts, right? Because I have a extensive martial arts background. But it's more about empowerment. And how do you become empowered? I can't make you empowered. I will be the mentor on your journey to empowerment, right? At least this aspect. This young girls class does that. It's learning how to set boundaries, clear boundaries, because 5-year-olds, the likelihood of them defending themselves in a really serious situation physically is very low. They're tiny humans, right? And they don't act. Their brains aren't developed yet. So we have to help them keep that childlike, creative, whimsical attitude and not squash the using your voice. They're great at using their voice. The 5 to 8 year olds, they're like, no, and I'm like, oh, the police are really going to come because they're great at using their voice. Somewhere along the line, we
quiet them.
We quiet them. We quiet ourselves. We're embarrassed. We don't trust our own instincts, which is another big self-defense, big tenet in self-defense, right? You know, trust your gut. If it feels wrong, it's probably wrong. Avoid it, right? And so I felt that it was really important to get these girls young when they're still excited about being loud and they don't care what they look like. And I'm gonna wear galoshes and a tank top and, you know, a ski hat and, you know, pearls to school. You know, like what I'm like, yes, get that, you know, have them keep that confidence and empowered feeling and keep encouraging them as they get to the 9 to 12. I guess it would be sort of the puberty age, right? When you start to be, you know, insecure about your body, about your voice, you know, who am I even, you know, sexually, all of that, you know, keep encouraging them in this tribe of women that I'm hoping to create in these classes, right? This, you know, find your tribe. Well, the tribe is women, period. And those who identify as women, right? We're here to help you. We're a community. We're all going through the same thing. We all went, you know, you're not alone. You're not alone. When you get to that, I'm not going to say anything because I won't know what to do about it.
Or I don't want people to not like me.
I don't want people to not like me, right?
That's what we noticed.
That will
with
never happen. Someone will always like you.
That's
you
true.
know?
I think accepting that is a big thing, right?
Yeah. And you know, if I was doing a lot of research on statistics just to help with what I'm teaching and what I'm saying and the messaging that I'm giving to parents and kids. And if you've been a victim under the age of 18 of a violent crime, you're 36% more likely to be re-victimized as an adult. Why? I guess because it's normalized, right? And the more we allow society to normalize this already pervasive sentiment, it's dangerous. That percentage is just going to go up. You know, everybody, you know.
I think we talk a lot about this at University of Colorado and being a regent. It was one of my issues I came in really kind of fired up about was the rate of sexual assault and defining sexual assault and how to prevent it, how to teach young women and young men how to define what's okay and what's not okay for them and what alcohol does to that when you add that into the mix. And it's a topic that's really uncomfortable for a lot of families to discuss, to prepare for when their kids go to college. And I think it's vital that they have these conversations before they get there. Because once you're there, it's a little too late. It's like, other than bystander training and some other ways to...
Right. Well, even that is a complicated situation because, you know, you don't... What it looks like on the outside isn't always what it is actually happening, is what I've discovered. But you're absolutely right. The setting clear boundaries takes planning, and it takes an understanding of yourself and what your boundary is, and really looking in and agreeing with yourself, I will not do that. And then when you find yourself in the situation where maybe you just didn't notice it happening, remember, you know, Rachel, I said, the little voice inside your head, I'm not going to do that. Okay, well, you're almost there. Whatever that is, that could be anything. Frankly, in a self-defense situation, right? It can be anything. How do I get out of it? And am I okay with what may or may not happen, right? Will that person, if it's, you know, you're making out in the back of a car and it gets hot and heavy, well, now you don't want to be there. That's your right. That's your right. And okay, how do I get out of that and not become a victim? Because by not saying no and saying, I'm really uncomfortable, and being able to have skills to say that and to fight your way out if you have to, right? That's very important, right? So say no if that person, and take the chance that that person is going to be like, okay, I respect you.
Which is most of the time.
Most of the time, yeah. Right? And you know, I have sons, right? So I try to say, the social cues, you know, this is it's a two-way street at that moment. I feel uncomfortable now. We need to stop. Rock on. Okay, cool. Let's stop. Let's, you know, and then get out of the situation, right? If that person doesn't have the, you know, integrity or respect for you to stop, or self-control, right? You need to, you will need to use some sort of force, right? Or some sort of distraction or stun move to stop it. You know, I hate to make light of that, but, you know, self-defense has multiple dimensions to it. As we're learning, I hadn't considered that years ago, but it really is, right? Set that boundary. Feel comfortable to set that boundary. Set that boundary ahead of time. Maybe your voice was telling you 2 hours ago, I don't even want to go out with this guy. Let's just say that's what it is, right? I shouldn't walk down that street. Listen to your gut. And then you've practiced that. You practice that ahead of time. It takes practice to learn to use your voice. It's uncomfortable the first few times you set a boundary. Even with my kids, I'm like, oh, I feel so bad, but I know it's the right thing to do. You know, like, or, you know, whatever the repercussion is going to be, a temper tantrum. If it's, you know, mom's to your kids, a temper tantrum. Okay, you're in it now. Fine. Now you're committed, but you set the boundary. And a man baby temper tantrum, you know, yeah, you set the boundary, but guess what? You're going to feel so good later because you didn't let yourself or someone else pressure you into doing something you didn't want to do.
Well, and to your point, Rachel, it takes practice. That's why these classes are important. It's important for parents to know how to talk about this. So Rachel is a mom of a son. I have 3 daughters too, but it's different raising a son. Yeah. You've got them. Daisha has them. One. What advice do you have for moms right now?
I think that be open-minded, listen, and ask questions. Ask them if, you know, and don't hide it from them, right? Let them hear about the issues that that women are having and their sisters and maybe you. And don't avoid the uncomfortable conversation, right? Because it's the truth. It's really happening, and they may be uncomfortable, but I think that over time, you know, we want to raise, at least I want to raise my sons to be caring individuals and respectful of everyone, right? And I don't want them to step into one of these potholes that, you know, because they're just tone deaf, right? You know, my sons, and as many sons are, you know, they don't pick up on social cues. They just don't. And so, okay, let's work with that. I'm not going to be angry about it. I'm not going to blame them, you know, but let's get ahead of it. You know, self-defense is about planning and preparation. It's risk management, basically. And so how can I educate my son? I can't say, don't rape, go read this book. Well, okay, so here's what happened, son, you know, like there's this story. And I do talk about it. I talk about it a lot at home. I have a 7-year-old daughter, and I train her. She comes to my classes. She sees things, and she is very vocal with her brothers. Don't touch me. She said the other day, don't touch me. You don't have the right to touch my body, or something like that. And I was like, that's awesome. Because that's where it starts, yeah. Right? And I looked at my middle son, and he's sort of like, duh, you know, like, but he heard her, right? Because it's also, you know, let's be caring and respectful the other way. You're going to set a boundary. If that person, you know, let's say, you know, boys and girls, me as a girl set the boundary. You put your arm around me. You touch me in a way that I don't like. And it doesn't mean I don't like you. It just means that I don't like that. Okay, listen to it and don't get upset.
Don't take it personally.
Don't take it personally, yeah. Right? I was talking about, you know, people need a directive. Don't do that. maybe you could do that. Like it's communication. Talk. Don't hide behind the text. Don't hide behind the social media. Have conversation.
Imagine that.
Yeah. I'm like, does anyone know how to write a letter anymore? I don't know.
No. They stopped teaching cursive in schools. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, that's crazy.
I think they brought it back.
Did they?
I think so. Maybe I'm the lucky one. Like, you can't read for example, how are you going to read the Declaration of Independence?
That's a great point. And how are you going to sign your name?
Right.
How are you going to write a beautiful thank you note?
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Rachel, how do people find out about Battle Mom?
So I have a website, www.battlemom.com, or what did he say on Cobra Kai? It's like,
Which period. We were talking about
Cobra Kai. Battlemom.com or battlewoman.com. Actually, I've rebranded I have Battle Woman, Battle Mom, and Battle Girl are the three brands that I'm operating under now. So battlewoman.com, and on social media, I'm at Real Battle Mom. Can you imagine someone took Battle Mom and I had to call out myself as Real Battle Mom?
You are the real Battle Mom.
I am.
We're darn happy about it.
Yes.
Okay, Rach. So I ask every person that comes on the podcast a couple questions. When people ask you why you like living in Colorado, what do you say?
Oh gosh. Like what's not to like? I say I love Colorado for its entrepreneurial spirit. Right? The opportunities here are endless. I can walk out my door and pretty much do whatever I want. Like I feel free. Like when I meditate, I feel my mantra is freedom. And that means a lot of things to a lot of people. And I truly feel that way when I'm here. I don't feel confined. I don't feel judged. I don't feel like I have to perform to something, to a standard. It's me. I can do what I need to do, and there is support everywhere. I was shocked when I moved here about the support from just everyone I met in Colorado. And I say it all the time. I'm like, people seem to really care.
Yeah. I agree.
Right? It's beautiful. It's diverse. And they have all the sports that I like. I will say that.
That's great answer. Great answer. What's the most Colorado thing you've ever done?
Well, I bet you get a lot of different answers for that, right? What's the most Colorado? So my thing, I think I climb 14ers.
That's pretty Colorado.
Yep. So 3 weeks after I moved here, I did a 14er. And I was like, rock on, I did that. And I didn't die. So I kind of got the bug. It's the challenge of summiting that 14er and looking at the view. And there's not a lot of people up there. And you get to see the landscape from a different perspective.
How many have you done?
Not that many, but let's see. I did Sherman, maybe 10, maybe? Yeah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, 10. So I did Maroon Bells last year.
Oh,
I was super excited. And I'm doing one tomorrow for Climb for Cancer. Climbing Bierstadt, Sawtooth, Evans tomorrow morning.
You're doing a triple.
Yes.
A triple header.
Yeah. I'm excited. Hopefully, I have not trained as much as I probably should have, but I think
you'll be fine. You are in awesome shape.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us, Rachel. It's been such a pleasure having you, and you've given us some great advice, great things to think about. So everybody go check out Battle Mom on Real Battle Mom on Instagram and social media, and then battlemom.com or battlewoman.com or battlegirl.com.
Yes.
And you're in Boulder. You have classes in Boulder and Arvada, but hopefully we'll get you out and about more in the state. And
yes.
There's this little background I have called franchising. I can help you with that.
Yes.
We need you everywhere.
Yes, everyone. I never get that's a bad idea. Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that. I've never heard, I don't want to do that, or that's a bad idea. And that's empowering.
Well, and I think that's called entrepreneurship. It's solving problems, right?
Yeah.
And you're solving a big problem for a lot of us moms, a lot of us women. So we appreciate you, and we're very grateful to have you in Colorado.
Thank you.
So thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us today on Heidi's Colorful Colorado. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe. And definitely follow me on Instagram to keep up with my latest adventures. In the meantime, happy trails from me, Heidi Ganahl.